Hi guys, this is Jeff at Slavens Racing. This video is about how to use the Athena WiGET app for the GET ECUs. And this applies to two-stroke and four-stroke models. I've already got a couple of videos out there on how to install the GET ECUs and the two-strokes and the four-strokes and do the initial setup with the phone app. So you should look at those first. And so in order to use the app for tuning, obviously you need to go to your app store, which is this blue icon on the left here, and then go in there and do a search for the Athena WiGET and make sure you load that. Once you've got that loaded, then we can go over here to the GET app, which is that orange one right down here. Tap on that. And so I'm not hooked up to the Wi-Fi comm on the bike right at the moment, because I think what you should do first is to just go into the app while you're sitting on your couch watching TV and mess with it, and just use it in the demo mode. So that's what I'm in right now, just the demo mode. It's not it's not connected to my bike. And like I said, you can just do this sitting on the couch or at your office or whatever you want to do. But it will help you learn the app without fearing messing up the programming. All right, so I've got quite a few bikes in here, and I'm going to start off with this four-stroke one, the second one down. That's my 500. And it says you're not connected. I'm going to say OK, and it also says some features unavailable, which is true. And on the four-strokes, they come with these factory maps here, and you can see there's all these different ones you can try, and those are just sitting there. You have to actually load them into the ECU to use them, but you can go in there and look at them now if you want. There's really not much to look at there. And so these buttons on the top here, well, I'll go into further detail in a minute on that. Anyhow, so we're in these factory maps. Now I'm going to go into the custom map. Here's the one I'm using right now. When it says I like map one, there's actually two maps because the map switch on the handlebar controls two maps. And you can just tap on going to that. And then at the top here, you can see an orange IG map 1, that's ignition, and then FI map 1, that's fuel, and IG map 2, ignition map 2, and then fuel injection map 2. So the fuel injection maps are where you're going to spend most of your time if you're playing with them, I would imagine. So on this one, you can just tap on this grid, or you usually have to double tap. All right, that's went too far, back up. And then here's your grid. And you can see across the top here, it says RPM versus throttle. So the far left column where it says 0, 20, 40, 70, 100, that's RPM. So excuse me, that's throttle. That's 20% throttle, 40% throttle, 70% throttle. And then the row across the top, 2, 5, 8, 10, 5, 12, 5, and 15, that is the RPM. And let's see here. So if you want to make a change, say at low RPM, and you do this 2000 column, that actually goes from 2000 to 5000 RPM. So if you did the 5000 column, it would go from 5 to 8. If you did the 8, it would go 8 to 10, 5, yada, yada, yada. All right, so let's just focus on this 2 right at the moment. Say you think it's a little lean on the bottom, it's kind of flaming out on you or something, and you want to richen up the bottom. So you just go there. I've already highlighted those with my finger by tapping on them. And then you can use these up and down arrows at the bottom, and you can go up. So, with fueling, I think it's a waste of time to do like 1-2% changes. You're not going to feel that. Now, if you get it really, really close to where you want it, and then you want to make a really minor change like that, okay. But in the beginning, if you're going to make a change, then make a change. Dive in with jump in with both feet. So I would do them in at least 5% increments. And all right, so it's up 5%. And then on the top left here, below the red 215, you can see there's an arrow to the left. You want to tap on that. And then normally on the right, you can see it's in gray, there's an arrow. Normally that would be highlighted and you would press on that to actually send it to the ECU. But anyhow, you can see that changes have been made to that 2000 grid. 5, 5, 5, 5, all the way down. So that's the basics of that. Let me just back up. Let's go back into Alec Map 1. All right, so something else you can change on this is interesting. Obviously, I already explained that 2000 goes from 2 to 5, and 5 goes from 5 to 8, and so on and so forth. But how about if you wanted to make a change from whatever, let's just say 2 to 4000, where you can tap on the 5 right there, use the down arrow, and you can make it 4000. So now when you fill in the column on, or use the 2000 column, it's going to make a change from 2 to 4000 RPM. All right, I'm going to take that back out of there. Oh, let's see, it was 5000 before. All right, back to there. So you can change the 5, you can change that one, that one, that one, but you can't change the ones on either end. You can't change the 15, you can't change the 2000. And you really would never need to anyhow. You can also make the same type of changes down here on the throttle. All right, so if you make a change on 20% throttle, it's going to change it from 20 to 40. But how about if you want to make it from 20 to 50% throttle? Well, then you just go down here to 40. Oh, tap 50. Then you can hit the arrow on the upper left and save it. Tap the arrow on the upper left, saving that. And then you would tap there on the upper right, which is not highlighted right now, to send it to the ECU. Now, because we're not connected to the bike, these changes mean nothing. This is just goofing around. And so in fuel injection, it lets you change, you can lean the engine out only 10%. They put that in there to protect, to keep you from causing damage to the engine, and you can richen it up to 30%, which is a lot. So you can see there's a lot of options here that you can do. Now this is nothing like what the software looks like that we use. It's much more detailed, a lot more power, a lot more bells and whistles, a lot larger grid with a lot more detail to it. So we can really screw down onto the exact area we want to hit. What I use this for mainly is if I'm out on the trail and maybe there's a little something I don't quite like about the way the bike runs. I get pretty picky about this stuff, and so I'll make some changes and I'll test it out on the trail. If I like it, then I get back to the house or the office, then I make those changes in more detail with the software. But that's not necessary to do it that way. It's just how I do it to help develop the maps that we give to our customers. But for you, if you make a change and you like it, well, then just leave it in there. Now the ignition on map 1 or map 2, for the most part, I'd say leave the ignition alone. You better kind of know what you're doing with ignition timing, or you're going to make a mess. You can possibly really get the engine rattling and be problematic, but you can always undo it just as quickly as you did it. And so most of the time you're going to focus on one of the fuel injection maps. I kind of like to have, of course I can do it however I want since I have the software, but I usually have one map as like my base that I like, and then I have another map 2 is one that I constantly mess with to see if I can make some improvements. And I'd recommend you try doing something the same. And other things that you can do. Let's see, let's get out of here. Down below on this orange bar, and you can go into service. And if it was hooked up to the bike, all these would be highlighted, but since it's not, only the maintenance is. You can go in there, there's a whole diagnostic section. And this monitor down below, it's not active right now because that only works when it's connected to the bike. and that's to set the TPS. Over here in options, you know, maybe you want to make this name change here. Maybe you gave this bike to your wife, so you can go in there and put wife's bike or whatever her name is. You can put it in there. And let's see, let's get out of here. Oh, go up here and tap on the little motorcycle on the left. That gets you back to there. And then you can hit those bars on the top left. That takes you into this section, back up, settings. There's manuals in here that will drive you completely crazy. Anyhow, this is what I recommend doing first. It's just going in here and banging around on this thing while it's not even connected to the bike. Right, so now I'm going to turn on the Wi-Fi comm and get us connected. So give me just a second. Okay, guys, now I've turned on the ignition system. On this bike, I just use the dongle, but you can use the key if you have one. You can use a dongle, you can use the starter button, that's all mentioned in a previous video. And I've hooked on to the Wi-Fi comm. I'm just going to go in here in settings and double check. You can see Wi-Fi comm is connected. So I'm going to go over to the app. Oh, it's going to say upgrade. I'm going to say yes. Okay. So they upgrade these quite often. Upgrades are usually pretty minor. And you can do this while you're out on the trail. If you want to make a change out on the trail and this pops up, well then just sit there for a couple minutes and let it upgrade. Or if you're at the track or at your house or wherever, just go ahead and anytime it says upgrade, go ahead and do that. I don't think it will let you not do it. System rebooting, check Wi-Fi network to be connected. Okay. You got to go back over, check, make sure you're still connected. Wi-Fi symbol is up there on the top right, so I'm still good. All right, I'm going to go back into the app. Oh, maybe I am. All right, so now I'm reconnected. So Wi-Fi comm usually has you do that on those updates. I'm going to go back over here. This upgrade was successful. Click OK. All right, now, sorry for that, but we're ready to rock and roll. But it was good for you to see that because you're going to run into that. And I've got, this is my 500. You can see it's highlighted, so I'm going to tap on it. I'm going to go into custom maps. I'm going to pick this map. There's actually two maps on here. And I'm going to go into fuel injection. So just like I showed you in the demo mode, it's the exact same thing. You just go in here and you tap on it wherever you want and you make some changes. There's some weird stuff in here. I don't know how that -9 got in there. I'm gonna fix this real quick. Go down. Send it. And I'm going to fix this one down here. Let's see. I don't know how these got this way. I must have accidentally tapped it. And I'm going to hit this here on the top left. And then I'm going to let's go back. Okay, so now that map is clean. Well, let's see, is it or not? Yeah, that map's clean. This map's clean. This map's clean. Okay. Oh, this one's got some weird stuff over here in the 2000 columns. Let's just correct that real quick. I'm going to send it, the arrow on the top left, sends it to these, well, that, and then you got to hit this arrow on the top right, and that sends it to the ECU. Okay. Maps updated. Okay. All right, now I'm all zeros here. And quite often, guys call us up or email us and say, I just got this get from you. I went in to look at the maps, and they're all zeros. I thought I was buying some custom maps. This just looks like the base maps from Get. Well, no. The custom maps are all installed, and you don't see them. These grids are just for you to use. So these are to make changes on those custom maps. So if you go in here and say this 2000 RPM column and richen it up 5%, well, then you're richening up the custom map we sold you 5% in that area, 2 to 5,000 RPM. When you get them, you see from us, this is always going to be zeros in the ignition and the fuel injection modules. And then anything that you do to this grid is going to be your own changes that you can save or not save. All right, just like in the demo mode, I mean, there's really not a lot more to go into here because the demo mode pretty well covers a lot of it. And I'm going to get out of here. Now you can see this orange bar on the bottom is fully functional now. You've got diagnostics. Sometimes there'll be an error code on here that I've run into that a few times, and I usually just clear them out, and it's no problem. You don't really need to contact us on that. There's the maintenance. No upgrades found. Factory reset. That's going to basically wipe out any of the custom maps. The LCGPA, that's launch control. You don't need to do that unless you have a motocross bike. And down here on the bottom, the orange bar again, monitor. This is to calibrate the TPS, and we can just do that while we're here. And I'm going to hit TPS cal, and I'm going to hit calibrate 0 TPS, and I'm going to hit OK. You see the numbers didn't change much. Those numbers, this one that's moving the TPS raw, should be 10 to 15 points lower than the TPS minimum. And then the max never changes. Okay, so back down to the orange bar again, under options. This is where you can just, like I told you before in the demo mode, you can go in here, change this with the bike information. You can put a note on down here if you want. And just that kind of basic stuff. I'm going to go back over here to tuning. And factory maps. So let's see, how about if you say you want to try this snappy map? Well, you just go to right there, and you hit the arrow on the top left, and the arrow on the top right, and that sends it to the ECU. Bam, it's just that simple. Okay, so that's really about all there is to tell you on the tuning part of it. I mean, you can go in here and play with it. Like I said before, if you're out on a ride and you want to make a change, well, then just pull over and make it. I mean, I can make changes in a minute. I usually have my phone in my jacket pocket, and I just whip it out. It's already connected to the Wi-Fi comm at that point, and I just make a change, save it, bam, go on down the trail. And if you make a change you don't like it, well, then you can just change it back, or you can go the opposite direction if you want. Sometimes it's good to just make a change to see if you make it better or worse, because it's so simple to change and it's so simple to change it back. All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap this up. For you guys that maybe are not real familiar with GET, GET is a powerhouse in the industry, the ECU industry. They also make, a lot of different engine parts, cylinder kits and stuff like that. They make a lot of different gasket sets. It's a huge company. over in Italy. And then the GET division is just part of Athena. It's just for the ECUs. And they've got a whole big team of engineers there. And GET works with all of the European and Japanese motorcycle manufacturers with their ECUs. They have the patent on the traction control system, and they also help develop the software for all the brands of bikes. And now Yamahas and I believe Suzuki's and KTM's, the motocross ones, are going to be coming with software that you can use the GET app to access and tune. And they also work with all the race teams here, well, not all, but a lot of the race teams here in the US. They work with pretty much all of them over in Europe. And they are at the forefront of tuning ECUs. They just are. Vortex makes an excellent product, but they're not deeply embedded with the factories like that. And I can't say enough about them. It's a good product. I've met one of the engineers, had a sit-down meeting with one of them for a couple hours. He kind of gave me a tune-up. A guy from Italy, a great guy. And he's the one that's in their videos. He obviously knows the product well. But it's an excellent product. It's an extremely powerful product. It's got lots of functionality, lots of bells and whistles, a lot of tuning ability. I mean, I would have killed to have something like this back in the day when I was racing. And it's just an excellent product, guys. So dive in, mess with it, check it out. And most of all, don't forget to get out and ride. Do some throttle therapy. That's all for now.